They don't see it. They glance your way, but their eyes never linger long. You're just another face, another quiet one, another man who doesn't make much noise. And that's exactly where your power begins. Let them believe you're average. Let them assume you're not built for what's coming. Let them laugh behind closed doors, whispering how small you are, how unlikely your dream sounds. Let them nod politely and secretly dismiss you when you speak of your vision. You feel it, don't you? That heaviness in their smiles. The way their eyes glance away too quickly, like your words don't carry weight. The way they offer support on the surface, but doubt you silently. At first, it stings. There's a moment where your chest tightens, where your breath grows shorter, where you wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you really are just another person with empty dreams. Maybe you're not as capable as you once believed. But deep beneath that doubt, something else awakens. A quiet flicker, not rage, not desperation, but resolve. Because you know something they don't. You know what they can't see. You know where you're headed. And you know that you don't need their applause to get there. You don't need them to believe in you. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. Because you've already decided this isn't for them. This is for you. The greatest danger isn't being doubted. The greatest danger is letting their doubt become your own. And you won't. You've made that choice. You let their silence fuel your focus. You let their absence sharpen your discipline. You let their indifference push you deeper into the work that will one day speak louder than any of their opinions ever could. They see stillness. But inside you, there's a storm building. They see silence. But inside you, there's movement, relentless, intentional, precise. They assume you've disappeared. But you're right here, building, growing, evolving. You are not here to impress. You are here to become. And the more they overlook you, the more dangerous you quietly become. Because the man who's been underestimated carries an edge they will never understand. He's not distracted by applause. He's not slowed by doubt. He's not weakened by their absence. He's too busy becoming unshakable. So let them talk. Let them scroll past. Let them roll their eyes. You don't need their attention. You need the discipline they'll never have. And you're building it, brick by brick, in silence. Nobody sees the early mornings, the alarms that break the silence long before the sun even considers rising. The world still sleeps while you lace your shoes, step into the cold, and begin. No cameras, no witnesses, just breath, just sweat, just you facing the weight of your own discipline. They don't see the skipped parties, the unanswered messages, the quiet Friday nights spent not in celebration but in repetition, the lonely hours where doubt knocks loudly and you learn again how to silence it with work. While they gather in comfort, you walk alone in discomfort. While they chase applause, you chase mastery. While they post for attention, you grind for substance. Every repetition, every sacrifice, every silent step forward builds something far more valuable than recognition. It builds unshakable foundation. The truth is, greatness never blooms under bright lights. It grows in shadows. It breathes in solitude. It feeds on the discipline few are willing to hold when no one is watching. And it's not easy. There are nights when your body aches. Nights when your mind screams to quit. Nights when you question if any of it matters. But in those moments, You choose again. You choose to stay, to push, to endure. Not for applause, not for claps or likes, but because there's something inside you that refuses to settle. A silent voice whispering, "Keep going. You are not done." The world romanticizes the spotlight, the highlight reels, the grand moments of victory, but they forget the price. The invisible price paid in quiet hours, when no one claps, when no one cares. Where every drop of sweat is a silent vote for the person you're becoming. You've learned how to suffer without spectators, how to bleed without witnesses, how to endure without applause. And in doing so, you've earned something far more powerful than admiration. You've earned control. Control over your own mind, control over your own reactions, control over your own path. Because the man who can suffer alone becomes the man who cannot be broken in public. The man who trains in the dark becomes the man who shines without trying. So, while they rest, you build. While they scroll, you sharpen. While they watch others, you work on yourself. They'll never see these hours. They'll never feel this discipline. But one day, they'll see the results. And they won't understand how it happened. But you will. Because you were there every lonely step, every silent rep, every quiet sacrifice. At first, your silence was easy to ignore. You blended into the background. You were easy to overlook. No one worried about you. No one feared what you were building. But now, something has shifted. You walk into rooms, and though you say nothing, they feel it. The energy you carry is no longer empty space, it's density. It's the accumulation of every rep, every sacrifice, every quiet hour spent forging the person you've become. Your eyes no longer dart around seeking approval. You no longer shrink to fit into small conversations. You no longer pretend to be interested just to keep others comfortable. They notice, even if they don't say it. They feel the calm weight of your presence. They sense that something inside you no longer needs their validation to exist. And it makes them uneasy. Because most people are not used to standing near someone who no longer performs for attention. Someone who no longer compromises their truth for acceptance. Someone who carries stillness like a blade. You've changed, but not in the way they assume. You're not cold. You're not distant. You're simply aligned, centered, rooted. You don't fill silence with meaningless words anymore. You don't over-explain your boundaries. You let the discomfort sit where it belongs, with them, not with you. And slowly, your silence begins to speak for you. It says, I am no longer here to entertain you. I am no longer here to shrink for you. I am no longer available for shallow exchanges that drain my soul. Some will pull away, unable to tolerate the reflection your stillness casts on their chaos. Others will begin to respect you, sensing the quiet power you've cultivated. But either way, you remain unmoved, because you no longer need to be seen to feel worthy. You no longer need to be understood to feel whole. You've outgrown the need for external applause. You've learned that the loudest man in the room is rarely the strongest. True power does not scream, it radiates. And now, you carry that power in every step, in every pause, in every breath, in the way you no longer rush to fill uncomfortable gaps, in the way you no longer chase attention. You simply exist, fully, firmly, unapologetically. They will wonder when you changed. They will whisper about the shift they cannot explain, but you'll know the truth. You didn't suddenly become strong. You simply stopped leaking your strength in search of validation. You let silence grow inside you, and now it moves with the force of something unbreakable. It happens slowly, not in an explosion, not with applause, but with undeniable presence. One day, you show up the same way you always have, quiet, focused, grounded, but this time, something feels different. You're not chasing the moment anymore. The moment has been chasing you. All those mornings you rose before the sun. All those nights you stayed when it would have been easier to leave. All those hours of sweat, of silence, of unseen suffering, they've built something no one can ignore. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to defend it. You don't even need to prepare for it. It's already here. You step into the light, and you carry the weight of 1,000 silent battles won in the dark. Your posture speaks. Your stillness speaks. Your refusal to shrink speaks. And they feel it. The ones who doubted. The ones who mocked. The ones who whispered behind your back. They feel the shift in the air. The quiet authority you carry without raising your voice. There's no anger in you, no resentment, only a deep, unshakable knowing you've earned this. Every scar, every lonely night, every small choice to keep going when no one was clapping. You walk through rooms without needing to demand attention, and that's exactly why it finds you. People pause, they turn, they look again, not because you're louder, but because you're undeniable. You don't need to prove them wrong. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. Because your life, your results, your presence, they are the proof. They will wonder how it happened. They will call it sudden. They will call it luck. But you'll know it wasn't sudden. It wasn't luck. It was 1,000 silent mornings. It was 1,000 invisible sacrifices. It was the decision to trust the process when no one else believed. And now, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Not for the grind, not for the growth, not for the silence. You simply stand there, unshakable, unbreakable, undeniable, and your silence roars louder than any words ever could. Because real power doesn't need to be shouted. It is felt. It is witnessed. It is respected even by those who once doubted it. You've become the storm they never saw coming. And now, you don't have to say a word. Your life speaks for you. Your silence screams, I was never gone. I was becoming. At this stage, you no longer think about them. The doubters, the skeptics, the ones who whispered, who laughed, who questioned. They've faded into the distance. Because now this isn't about proving them wrong. This is about proving yourself right. You've walked through fire, not for applause, not for recognition, but because something inside you refused to quit. Every day you chose the lonely path. Every day you said yes to discipline and no to distraction. Every morning you stood up when your body begged to rest. Every night you stayed locked in when the world was out celebrating. And slowly, brick by brick, you built something far stronger than success. You built character. You built patience. You built grit. You built yourself. That's the part they never saw. The part they will never understand. They see the result, the calm strength, the silent confidence. But they never saw the nights you wrestled your own doubt, the mornings you fought your own fear, the thousands of small choices made in empty rooms that no one else will ever walk through. And that's why your power is unshakable. Because it was earned in places no one clapped for. Because it was built in the absence of witnesses. You don't owe them updates. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them your process. You've kept your head down. You've done the work. You've bled, sacrificed, and suffered quietly. Now, your presence speaks volumes. You enter spaces without needing to prove anything. Your work speaks. Your growth speaks. Your consistency speaks. And most of all, your silence screams what words never could. You didn't need to broadcast your struggle. You didn't need to advertise your journey. Because real strength never needs an audience. It simply becomes undeniable. And the people who once overlooked you, they watch now, not because you sought their gaze, but because your existence demands it. They whisper your name now, not in doubt, but in disbelief. How did he do it? How did he become this? And the truth is simple. You didn't chase applause. You chased discipline. You chased purpose. You chased excellence. Not for them, for you. And now, while they scroll through noise, while they chase fleeting approval, you stand anchored in something they'll never touch. Not fame, not popularity, but unshakable peace. The kind that comes only from becoming who you were meant to be, regardless of who was watching. You've become undeniable, not because you spoke louder, but because you outlasted their noise. Because you chose the fire. Because you never stopped. This is your legacy. Silence turned into strength. Discipline turned into dominance. Focus turned into freedom. And now, you no longer need to speak. Your life whispers everything they need to hear. Without a word, you've become everything they never believed you could be. And more. And then, it gets quiet. Not because there's nothing left to chase. Not because you've lost your hunger. But because the war inside you has finally ended. The battles you once fought daily, the doubt, the fear, the urge to prove they no longer hold you hostage. You wake up now with a calm you once only dreamed of. The need to explain yourself, to convince others, to defend your choices, all of it has faded. Because you've outgrown it. You see, the destination was never the spotlight. It was never the applause. It was never even about success. It was about peace. The kind of peace that comes only after you've walked through fire and refused to burn. The kind that grows in a man who has faced himself fully and made peace with every scar, every failure, every lonely night. There's no parade waiting for you. No crowd cheering your arrival. Just the quiet, the stillness, the deep knowing that you've become unshakable, not because you fought the world, but because you mastered yourself. People still talk, some in admiration, some in confusion, some in envy. But none of it touches you anymore, because your worth no longer depends on anyone's perception. You no longer chase recognition. You no longer seek validation. You simply live rooted, steady, aligned. And in that alignment, life moves differently. The opportunities you once strained for now find you naturally. The connections that matter come without force. The noise fades. The distractions lose their grip. And you are left with what you always sought but could never name freedom. Not freedom from responsibility. Not freedom from work. But freedom from the endless need to become someone for anyone else. You've already become who you were meant to be. And that is enough. Your silence is no longer a weapon. It is transformed into a sanctuary, a place you return to, not because you're hiding, but because you've arrived, fully, completely, quietly. And as you sit in that stillness, breathing deeper than you ever have, one truth becomes clear. You never needed the world to see you. You only needed to see yourself. And now you do.